Pushing the boundaries of expectations, rewriting the rules of adventure are the reasons we get up in the morning. We share your hunger for a life without limits.
Greetings, howdy. Welcome back to your Kinetic Belief podcast for attracting and manifesting whatever you desire. I am so glad to have all of you back with us again today. Meg and I are in concert on December the 19th in Charleston, South Carolina. It's a Christmas concert and with world-class string ensemble. There are 3 shows. The first 2 are sold out, Maggie, and there are only a few tickets left on the third one. And if you're feeling it, guys, you can get your tickets by visiting our website at StephenCanyon.com. We would love to see some KBs there.
It's going to be enchanting.
Isn't it?
Yes.
No, it really is.
It really is,
and I'll
though.
explain that in a minute. If you like to receive an occasional text, encouraging message from me, text the word kinetic to 844-844-0049. We basically live in Airbnbs now.
Basically, we absolutely
Primarily.
do.
That's yes, without question. We've been doing this for a few years. I think most we've talked about this before, but we made the decision we were going to travel and be in different places, be with different people, and free us up to do some of the events that we do. So the Airbnbs was a great choice. We can cook our own food. I like your cooking. Get out of the hotels.
Thank you.
So here we are.
Yes.
But we started off with traveling with, we thought we were going to do this with one suitcase. But you had the idea, hey, we could just vacuum pack our clothes.
Well, that's extra hilarious because of your shoe collection.
Well, that's
How many shoes? Embarrassing. No. Wear it proudly,
Yes,
Steve.
maybe it's embarrassing for you, but I own that proudly.
But yeah, one suitcase. That's hilarious.
It didn't
looking
work.
back.
It didn't
No.
work. So we went to 2, and that didn't work. But you know what's really funny
What?
is I look around, and now we're in an Airbnb. We've got a sound system. We got boxes of books. I got my keyboard. You've got easels and paints, and now they just dropped off 1,000 candles.
It's true.
Now-
Everything you just said is true. But I feel like now we are true gypsies. We're not minimalists even. We're just gypsying our way across the country, across the world, really.
And our e-bike. Should we have 1,000 candles in our living room?
Ooh, that
Maybe
sounds
it's the
exciting.
boxes. Well, I
Talk
guess
about-
it depends on the occasion.
Talk about a good meditation
Well,
moment.
these are you turn them on, but the 1,000 candles is for our concert.
Yes.
And so we ordered them, and 1,000 candles, that's a lot of boxes.
Well, and
What are we doing? How are we going to get to the next Airbnb?
well, not just that. I have to say, I'm not even so concerned about how many candles there are as much as just turning them on. That's going to be crazy.
That's true, because I don't know if you noticed or not, but the switches they stick. They're hard. It hurts to turn the little switch
and
on.
I have to protect my violin fingers, so I
I play
can't
the
help.
piano.
I can't help you.
Well, we got to call somebody.
I think we need some help. Oh my goodness.
I guess we'll get some garden gloves.
There you go. That's a good idea. It is going to be beautiful, isn't it? Just the draping of the candles in that room, and it's going to be Christmas time. It's going to be so magical.
That's the enchanting concert that it's going to be. It's going to be
yeah.
filled with 1,000 candle lights.
Well, I have to say, I've been working through the music, and the arrangements are so stunning. They're so different. I've never heard Christmas music arranged like this. So the whole, I'm just obviously very excited.
Uniquely arranged just for
Yes,
us.
and I get to wear a beautiful
Yes.
evening gown. It's finally an occasion for dressing up. It's gonna
Because
be
you
exciting.
mentioned a few weeks ago, I never get to wear an evening gown. So guess what?
And I think I even said I'm going to manifest more of those
You did-
occasions.
Well,
so boom.
Here we go, filling up the schedule. And then also we're putting on our calendar some KB events coming up this year
Yeah.
in addition to some of the concerts.
I have to say,
So-
Steve, I'm ready. I am ready to meet with the KBs, hang out with them, spend that time together. The energy that flows during workshop events like that, it's so intense and it's so, it just fills you up.
We've got to get rid of the mystery between us all and get into the same space.
Yes.
Right? I want to hang out with
Can't
some
say
of
I've
you
ever
guys.
felt like a mysterious person.
Well, you are. You're so mysterious.
I don't think I am.
Yes, you are.
Everything you need to know, you can literally see
Not
on either
really.
my face
You don't
or
wear it on your sleeve.
I think I do.
Well, you do,
Yeah.
actually. So what are we doing?
What are we doing? I have a question. Actually,
That's what we're doing.
Marjorie has a question. Marjorie from the UK. First of all, hey Marjorie, I love when people send in questions. Don't you love it?
Yeah.
Because I always have my own thoughts and inquiries, but it actually I know it helps me personally to read how others are thinking about life and seeing life. And the questions they ask are so, like you always say, it's the right question that will get the right answer.
Where did you say she's from?
She's from the UK, the United Kingdom. So here's her question. She wrote in saying, I'm basically a happy person, and I believe I understand the difference between circumstantial happiness and optimistic happiness. But why is it that sometimes, for example, I love to garden. Sometimes I feel emotionally happy while tending to my garden, and sometimes I feel a little, I guess, depressed while I'm gardening, which is something that I not only look forward to, but I enjoy doing it. And so from my secret little garden, love, light, and peace, Marjorie.
I think I got that. So
think I got that too,
she
yeah.
likes to garden. Sometimes she's happy while gardening.
And that's also just an example she gave. So I think, and that's interesting. You're doing something you love, but you don't always have the same emotion attached to it.
Ah, okay. Yeah. Garden. And a lot of people like to garden in the UK. I mean, I think most homes have a garden of sorts.
Isn't it
behind the
very hospitable
house,
there
yeah.
for gardening? Or maybe they're just all really good at it.
Probably a little of both, right?
Yes, I would love to have a garden one day.
Wouldn't you?
I'll just plant one at all of the Airbnbs.
Sure, bring it on in here. We got plenty of room on the other side of those candles.
You
between the
check out of your
bikes.
Airbnb. There's like tomato plants.
This is
and-
getting to be nuts. I'm serious though.
I know.
I don't know how we're going to get to the next Airbnb. We're going to have a truck. We're moving again.
I guess we need to go get a van or something. We'll figure it out.
Sorry, Marjorie. Okay, back to Marjorie.
Back to Marjorie.
So sometimes she feels she said emotionally happy while tending to her garden. Sometimes she feels depressed while gardening. So the gardening obviously has nothing to do with the way she's feeling.
She also made a point. She wanted to let us know that she does understand the difference between optimistic happiness
Right.
and emotional happiness.
Very good. So that's a great start. So
Yeah.
something's going on outside of the optimism that is genuine happiness. And, instead of looking for the circumstantial, it's the I will be happy when, or I am happy now that I'm gardening. Circumstantial happiness is not authentic. So, Marjorie, there is a point in our lives, and it's different for everybody, but there comes a moment when we realize that there's not only success, good health, joy, happiness, fundamentally speaking, getting what we desire is success, right?
Yeah.
That is the most basic definition of success. You got what you desire, but there's also failure. There's sickness, losing, unhappiness. There's old age, decay, death. Getting what you think you don't desire is typically unhappiness. That's failure. For example, I can remember as a kid, the first time that I heard that people died. And what's even worse than that, I remember hearing that one day I was going to die. Now, to me, that was bad news.
Even worse than you dying.
Okay,
is me dying.
that's pretty rough, man. You're going to die. What do you mean I'm going to die? So that's tough,
Yes.
and that was hard. And because there I was enjoying the newness of my human experience. I'm young and free, and I have nothing but eternity ahead of me. And then hearing for the first time that I was going to die, okay, what am I going to do with that information if I don't have something to replace it with? So my one abstract for life, which was life, success, happiness, Santa Claus, all things being possible that are good for life and expanding into the abundance of life, which had been only success up to my 5 little years of age, now became two abstracts for life. The one of success, life, and then the one of failure, death. So now choice enters onto the stage of life, whether I realized it or not at that time. There are two abstracts, one of success and one of failure that I would need to contend with, categorize, understand, make a decision about how I was going to react to the negative one.
Right.
So, Marjorie, happiness is the fruit of what we're choosing to contend with. And not realizing that I had a choice in the matter of abstracts at that time. I began to learn how to define things, which we all do. When you're first confronted with the thing you're going to have to contend with, that when it shows up, it's toxic and it's a negative. Now you got to learn how to define life as it was in this new light of information. You have to learn how to contend with or define circumstances in a positive way, people, myself at that time, life as good and bad, as desirable and not so much. So on one hand, there's the possibility of order and happiness. On the other hand, chaos and the misery of destruction.
Wow.
So from a very early age, success is usually associated with what every single person defines as either good or bad. Now, there are good things that happen, but they always seem to come from the threat of the good coming to an end.
Right.
Or
Yes.
coming to some type of collapse or breakdown, or the good simply becoming meaningless. The new car becomes old. The exciting new job becomes boring and no longer challenging. And so you quit on day 2, Maggie.
Yes, I did.
And so, or the marriage becomes dull and it becomes unfulfilling. And so then bad becomes even worse. When, regardless of the explanations for the failure, life just doesn't seem to make any sense anymore. You've reached the point to where the more you reason with a thing, the more it seems unreasonable.
Well, and this is just making me think about the importance of embracing the flow of life, because everything that you just described is really a symptom of trying to hang on to something in a sort of rotten way. You go get a treat, you go get a cupcake, and eventually it's going to be moldy. It is the actual old adage, you cannot have your cake and eat it too. But when you're in that kinetic belief flow, all good things are a river coming to you at all times. And so there, you can release things, you can enjoy them, you can consume them. It's this never ending, it's sort of like a stream of income, but it's like emotional, positive lifeblood income.
Well, and then the determining one that determines and decides if it's positive or not is you.
It's you.
And it's me.
Yet again, it's up to us to determine.
But I think that's a great point. There is a flow to it all.
Mm-hmm.
There's a flow. We are not going to change the flow. The flow just is. Yes. But what we do change is the expectation of what the flow will accomplish by us participating with it. In other words, Marjorie, simply by considering whether or not you're happy, when you sent us the email, you're thinking, am I happy or not? Sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I am. Considering that produces 2 different versions as proof of what you're considering to contend with. Now, actually trying to contend with or make rational, reasonable sense, even of higher consciousness, of wisdom in this world. The Bible even says that it's folly, it's foolishness. Because the wisdom of this world is based upon what can be observed, which is the manifestation of what cannot be seen. And so we've got this empirical order of structure that's being reorganized, it's being stirred up, it's being reimagined by us, by the thoughts and desires of human beings. We are in this big hodgepodge pot of potpourri and possessions, and everybody's stirring it in the manner that they should stir it or would stir it. And we're by reasoning with the meaning of life as defined by empirical logic, which is judging all things, judging each other, judging what we believe things to be as either good or bad, as if all things have some kind of a separate existence. But the fragmentation of creation as a separate existence, that's just an illusion. That's why to one person a situation can be good, while at the same time to another person that situation is bad.
I feel like right now you're helping us organize our thoughts when it comes to the deconstruction of and our ability to understand how life existence works. And so, remember in science books how you would have maybe like an atom or something, and the whole page would just be as if this entity was sort of pulled apart, so you could see all the different working pieces. And I know that especially in the podcast, it helps me so much when we go through all of the different facets of the way that whether life functions or belief functions. And today it's really about not just happiness, but our relationship to the flow that you were just talking about, how that functions.
Yes, and it's about determining what makes things what they are to you and to me. Why is that one thing to you and it's one thing to another? Well, because again, there's no, all things have one existence, not separate existences.
That really reminds me of I had some great advice given to me as a young performer, because I didn't have stage fright, but I would get so worked up that it would be hard to even hold my bow steady. And I always thought that was anxiety until somebody said, a great teacher told me, they said, it's anxiety, but they said, but just use it. They said, it's just energy. So turn that energy into your playing, turn it this way, turn it that way, and redefine it. So all of a sudden now what was anxiety to me is now fuel to play aggressively and to play my best performance ever.
Listening, I'm hearing you say that. I'm not so sure that would have helped me, because I remember the first time that
You're like, burnt, no, didn't help.
I'm sitting here thinking, that would not have helped me. I don't think. Recognize,
it
okay,
helped.
I've got all this energy.
No, it helped me so much, because because I was trying to press that energy down. I was trying to get rid of it, and which is impossible in the moment, right before you go on stage.
Oh, I think the more you try to get rid of it, the worse it gets, because you're focusing on that negative energy.
So like the idea of redirecting it was helpful.
It's great.
For me, maybe not for you.
Well, my situation was I was doing a televised concert. First one ever with an orchestra.
Oh, yes.
And the cameras caught me off. This is a live performance, so there's no rehearsal to it. You go in the studio, countdown, boom.
How do you always find
there.
yourself playing concerts with no rehearsals?
Because I don't know any better.
They're like, just come and play.
I
You
don't
say,
know.
okay.
You need to rehearse that and write that down.
Kids,
please
you
practice.
need to practice.
But I didn't. Well, there was no rehearsing. How do you rehearse a live performance?
That's true. You cannot rehearse the.
Well, I guess you didn't.
No, I don't know
practice
though.
That.
But that's why, like when you
Sorry,
were saying
everybody. I'm trying to sort this thing out as we on the fly here.
You just said that though the other day about the NFL games. How that's why people sometimes they can be these amazing players, and then their first game they're horrible because you can't practice that.
And that's performance anxiety, and so no, you can't practice that. Or the same reason the Olympics are what they are.
Yeah.
The gymnast can do that 1,000 times in practice, but then put the audience in there and the cameras, and then something else happens here.
Yeah.
The
So
cameras were there, and they were 12 inches from my hands as I sat there to play the piano.
That's a lot.
My hands, I felt like I had two baseball mitts, one on each hand.
You just start banging.
They just somehow I got through it. I think one of the pieces, though, I did go around the block a few times.
No one knew, though.
Yeah, pardon?
No one has to know.
Well, I don't care.
That's how it gets.
I got lots of shoes, and I freaked out on a televised concert. So there.
I have to say
we're bearing our souls today.
The camera being 12 inches from your hands that's a lot.
That was too much.
That seems like a lot.
They had to be rookies on the cameras, right?
Absolutely.
They weren't pianists.
So, but what is nervousness and anxiety to one can be redefined. Redefined for someone else, as you were just telling us.
It can be fun for the audience.
There's
or
that.
Not. Now that's a whole other thing. I was at another concert. I was actually in the audience, and this guy learned to play the piano just to play one song that he'd always wanted to play.
Really?
Rhapsody in Blue. Couldn't play the piano. He learned to play just Rhapsody in Blue. Wanted to do it in concert.
Oh my goodness.
And this was at Wake Forest University, in fact. Okay. But I'm there, full house. And the guy goes up there and he's playing, and I can remember I was a nervous wreck. And I was like 3 rows from the back. So vicariously, I'm having a panic attack for the guy up on the stage.
You are the definition of an empath, Stephen.
That must be it.
Yep.
But
What were we talking about?
Well, here's the deal. You can have two men in a truck pulling up at your home to move you, and one of them loves their job, and they think it's the best thing that ever happened to them. The other one hates their job, and they think it's the worst thing that ever happened to them. The job just is. It cannot have a separate existence. The fragmentation of the job is an illusion. So what's happening here? The illusory seems very real when you're one of the two men on the truck, right?
Yes.
And you're the one believing the situation is bad.
Yeah.
Well, that's about as real as it gets.
It's your bubble, so it's real to you.
But you've defined it.
Yeah.
You see, we each have the ability to attach the belief that a thing is either good or bad to a thing. And it's the belief that creates the illusory of good and bad, of happy and sad, the inner dialogue. Something else is going on here. Look, the universe is indivisible, right? And all things are interconnected. In other words, nothing exists by and of itself. Nothing was formed in isolation. All things are interconnected. Everything is. Not only can a thing not be both good and bad, a thing is neither good or bad. It just is.
Wow.
And since all things just are, they're presented to every single human being for the purpose of labeling it.
Wow.
Here it is now, you call it. You label it. There's a scripture in the beginning of the Bible where God tells human beings that it's up to them to label things. It's up to each individual to call things either good or bad. And it says that if you don't know what to call it or what to do, just call it good. Well, there's wisdom in that because we exist in where belief is concerned in a dualistic universe where everything will be subjectively good to you or bad to you. And particle physicists have proven this to be true through their research into quantum entanglement, where the belief of the observer changes the movements of protons and neutrons, which are the building blocks of all matter. The God in each one of us has the authority to call things that do not exist as we would have them to exist. And this is the interconnectedness of all things in the universe.
This is also making me wonder, so I'm assuming that this is obviously this is something we're applying to our sphere of influence, our bubble, something within our reach, because when we listen to the news, we read the news, we read about horrible things happening in the world. And I can hear somebody saying, well, you want me to call that good? But technically, that's not really in our sphere of influence, I guess. Is that accurate?
Every person has been given what you could call a supply of good and bad labels.
Okay.
Endless supply. Mm-hmm. We came here straight from Staples, and we have truckloads of labels to use through this lifetime.
I'm a label maker.
It's the illusory of our belief through the power of our dominion that gives every single person an endless supply of good and bad labels. And you probably know somebody that seems like all they have is bad labels. Yeah. Everything gets a bad label. Sure. Other people, everything gets a good label. Good for you. Feel it that way. But we all have those two in our inventory. And we can stick them wherever we choose to stick them, if we choose to stick them at all. And I've had people stick bad labels on me, and I've had people stick good labels on me. I believed some of those bad labels when they were stuck on me, and I believed some of the good labels when they were stuck on me. But what I choose to believe is always up to me. I have the final authority of what I will choose to believe to create.
I like this mantra, too, of call it good, call it good. And the fact that I love this idea that everything that's coming to us is label-less and even formless, you could say, until we add our concepts and our personal ideas to it. And we really do have the power to do that.
And that's why we've said many, many times to cast down negative imaginations. Throw those bad labels down. Mm-hmm. Don't pick one up and don't stick it on anything, because you are taking a sense of ownership of whatever you put a label on.
And I have to say, I will actually say the words, I cast that thought down, because it's such a go-to for me. It actually gets rid of the thought and then allows me to immediately do what you're saying, to put the right label on it.
Well, there is explosive, creative power in belief.
Yeah. Yes.
I mean, not only is the power of belief responsible for how we were created, but it's how the universe was wired to respond to the God within each one of us and to react to that which is in the image of God within each one of us, which is the kinetic energy that produces success.
So you just mentioned that there are people who they only seem to have bad labels. And what if we're one of those people? So let's say we're listening to the podcast and this is a eureka moment and we want to change. However, we are in a black hole of bad labels. We've been applying those bad labels year after year after year. And now we're ready to change. But how do you even begin to dig out from that?
Well, you're going to have to start saying some positive things, and that's where journaling really comes in to play. You're going to have to come up with some highest viewpoint expectations that become your mantra for life. You're going to have to relearn your language and stop saying certain things and start saying other things, and that takes the practical work of speaking rather than thinking. If you start saying something or thinking something negative, start speaking something positive. You can't do both at the same time.
Yeah.
And that's effectively casting down the negative imagination.
Okay. Wow.
Getting what you want out of life is success. I mean, that's what it is. And success is the effect that's coming from the application of a cause. So the cause of success is the same within every person. The difference is in the things that successful people desire, but it's not in the success itself. In other words, success is essentially the same thing, whether it results in the attraction of health, wealth, the development of talents or positions in life. Success is the manifestation without regard to the things that are being manifested.
Whoa. Okay.
And we've talked about this, at length before, but it is a law in nature that like kind attracts like kind. That the same causes always produce the like kind effects. In other words, success is not a respecter of persons. What works regardless of who is working it.
So really we need to see this more of a formula and it has an outcome, and it's going to be based off of your inputs.
Yes, there's a formula.
No matter what.
Yes, a formula. Since the cause of success is the same, the formula is the same, the cause of success has never changed. Then the cause of success, it must be the same in all cases. But what we want to do is look at the fruit of a person's success and point to that and say, that's what success looks like. But that's polar opposite from what is actually true. What success looks like actually cannot be seen with the naked eye.
Wow. And this is giving us a heightened awareness of what we're inputting, the seed we're sowing. So that, because yes, you have to first sow the seed to get the fruit. But it's making us more aware of what are your inputs, what are you sowing, and then how are you working that seed that you've sown to then get the desired outcome. Because you can have different. I love how you're reminding us to don't just look at the fruit, and when we focus on what we're sowing here, it's going to make all the difference on the other side.
And sowing is such a good word because it shows that the cause of success is always within the person who succeeds. And to get within the person who is successful, something has to be sown there. Success is not the expensive car. There's something else going on here that produces the success, the fruit of it.
Wow.
And so if the cause of success was in the environment, for example, outside of the person, then all persons in that environment would be successful. And we know that's not the case.
Right.
So we know that the cause of success is actually in the individual, and it's not anywhere else. Nowhere else. Knowing this fundamental truth of the power of manifestation makes it mathematically positive that I can succeed if I will find out the cause of success and develop it to sufficient strength and not wavering, apply it in the correct way to my desires. Well, what's happening when I do that? I'm a kinetic believer, and now I'm working on something.
This is also reminding us of the importance of holistic outcomes, holistic positive outcomes, because, I love how you always sign off in emails and things, sending you light and love, Stephen, you don't sign off saying, sending you cars and boats, Stephen. But there's a reason, because success is not, like you're saying, it's not just what you're looking at. Somebody can seem like they have everything that you could ever hope for, but it's just a house of cards because it's not being held up by light and love and kinetic belief. And that really even puts a level of sustainability into the things that the fruit that we're sowing toward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the condition of my position is what produces the light and love that is a cause of the effect.
Yeah.
And truly, I'm sending that out. That is not just a catchphrase. It is the position of our condition that changes things. You see, I know that the application of a cause cannot fail to produce a given effect. And I know that. If there's a failure anywhere of any kind in my life, it's because the cause was not sufficient. My kinetic belief wasn't pure, or my kinetic belief was not applied in the correct way. And so the cause of success is in the creative power of belief within me.
It's really interesting to approach kinetic belief from really a formula-based perspective, because I think sometimes it's easy to think that we cannot combine the sure thing with the believed for thing, as if faith is supposed to always be blind or it's not pure faith. Mm-hmm. And I'm all for it. I'm all for taking science and formulas and a depth of understanding and using it to sort of upbraid under what we're believing for and why we're believing.
Yeah, getting down to the root, getting under it again, because look, it's not in the loan, it's not in the degree. Mm-hmm. Success is not in the relationship, it's not the marriage itself. I have the authority to develop any power to a limitless extent, for there is no perceivable end to transcending the ego.
Wow. What a thing to consider, really.
No end to it. And what's really exciting is I can increase the strength of this power indefinitely. I'm not going to get to the end of that rainbow. Yeah. And in other words, I will never arrive to the conclusion that, well, it's just too late. It's finished. I'm done, washed up. My ship has sailed and I'm just stranded here. And that's okay. I've got my 2 suitcases and my keyboard with me. And you can't teach an old dog new tricks anyway. No. I have the unending ability to manifest what I desire to do. I have the skills to do it and to attract what I desire to acquire when my kinetic belief is strong enough. You see, I can apply it to the desire, and without failure, I will always succeed. Mm-hmm. All I have to do is to learn what the cause of success is and how to apply it.
This is so illuminating, because on either end of the spectrum, whether you are at the spectrum of failure or all of your dreams have seemingly come true, I like that you're labeling those as successes, because it is the correct outcome for what was input. And that also means that even if we are at the pinnacle of success, of what we deem successful in our life, we're still going to need the ability to infuse kinetic belief in our life to go to the next mountaintop and the next one, because just because you've had fill in the blank success, it doesn't mean you don't need the next one. We're always growing, and that's the flow we began by talking about.
And the flow is also its part. We have our part in this, and there is a formula, like you said, to success. And the universe has its part that it's going to fulfill when we do our part.
Yes.
The development of, for example, the special faculties, the talents, to play the violin, to do whatever a person does, those talents, developing those talents to be used in creating, that is essential. It's not the cause of success, however. Your ability to play the violin is not the cause of your success. Right. You can play the violin, and that's great, but that's not the cause of it. It's not what attracts, it's not what manifests success. My ability to write music and play the piano, that's not the cause of my success. Or my love for spiritual wisdom and enlightenment and my pursuit of particle physics and all of these other things, it's not the cause of any kind of success. But no one, not God, not the bias of the universe, nothing expects a human being to succeed as a musician or anything else without developing the musical faculty And it would be absurd to expect an architect to succeed without developing the skills for design, for example, or a sage or a shaman to succeed without developing spiritual understanding, or a particle physicist to unfold the substance of belief without the understanding of quantum mechanics, or an investor to succeed without developing the faculty of finance. So whatever your genius of purpose is, whatever your curiosity is speaking to you about, develop the faculties, the talents, and the skills, all that you can. But do so understanding that even the development of talents and knowledge is not enough to produce success. I think that's what I want to drive home here today. You know, there used to be a singer-songwriter. We looked him up not long ago that played his guitar in a lounge in Atlanta, Georgia. Yes. Every weekend that billed himself as the world's greatest unknown. And I heard him play in Atlanta one time, many, many, many years ago. And I can tell you he was probably the world's greatest unknown. No argument with me. There are people with amazing musical talent who fail as musicians, that fail as spiritual teachers, that have insightful wisdom, who fail as shamans, particle physicists who've clearly imagined what existed the moment before inflation. And they fail as physicists, investors with futurist visions who fail as investors. Because success does not depend on having good tools. It depends more on the power that applies the tools, that uses the skills.
Wow.
So we make certain that our talents, we make sure that our skills and all of our tools are kept in good form. We practice. We keep them sharpened, that we read about the mechanics and we work them out. We practice to keep our talents in the best possible fluid working condition that we can. And don't doubt for a moment that you can develop any skill to any level that you desire. It's possible. We talk a lot about the egoic mind and how if it's not used as a tool for observation rather than identification, it'll corrupt who we were created to be. Yep. Lead you off track, down a road you've got no business going down. And you'll get to the end of your life and realize you lived someone else's. Tragic. And we will experience an inauthentic life as a result of that. One that's filled with just disappointment, worry, doubt, and fear of failure. But the ego, when it's used as a tool for learning skills and sharpening talents, it will assist you in successfully manifesting what you desire. So if I wanted to compete in a 5K run, God help me. But if I want to do that, I will use my ego to identify with those who successfully run 5K races to train my body to get the right shoes out of my suitcase and shorts. And so, but this is just the beginning. I'm on the right track, but I'm standing at the starting line and I'm ready to go.
This is a really, really cool visual that you're giving us, that you've laid out that every success has so many facets and so many steps leading up to it, and making sure that we're applying the label of good to every single step all along the way, whether it's gaining the skill, perfecting the skill, applying the skill, so on and so forth, but making sure that as kinetic believers, we are being very, not just aggressive, but very focused, laser focused on making sure that we are choosing the right positive thinking labels and attaching it to every single portion of the journey as we head in that direction.
Positive thinking labels as part of the recipe, isn't it? Because those who are experiencing their best lives are those who succeed because they use their skills and talents that we're talking about it as just an undergirding to the power of kinetic belief. And they do it successfully. Yeah. They repeat, and they stay with the formula. And they don't get off track anywhere. But then there is the majority, Maggie, who have equally good talents and skills, but they fail because they use them without the creative power of kinetic belief. And you're the world's greatest unknown, and your light is hidden in a bush. Mm-hmm. No one knows you're there. You're not sharing the essence of your genius of purpose with anybody. Kinetic believer, a KB, is the something that's kinetic belief is the something that's in a person who is successful that enables them to use their talents, use their skills, and use their genius of purpose successfully. Kinetic belief, that is the something that's cultivated by every single person who succeeds in life and in love.
Well, this feels incredibly vital, understanding kinetic belief as something that we're wielding. We're wielding it as we go through life, and it's something that you can touch every single part of your life with it, and making sure that it is, and that's an expansion on the understanding of what does it even mean to live holistically as a kinetic believer. And it's not to it. What's interesting is that it seems like you're going to be doing more, but as I think it through, it actually releases more pressure because it's a flow. And applying kinetic belief, making sure that we're applying it to every single nook and cranny of our lives, it's going to actually release a lot of negativity and release the pressure and make all of this technically easier.
Pressure only comes from taking ownership of the things you have no business taking ownership of being a manipulator, of trying to do the part of the universe. The universe has its part and we have ours. And if you feel pressured, it's because you are in a hurry and you're worrying about the part that you have no control over. So that's the question is, what is kinetic belief? What is our part? What is, I just turned this on. I've been listening to jazz and I found you guys.
You're so funny.
What are you talking about?
You're like, what? You're like, and in closing, what is kinetic belief? Stephen, here we go. I'm buckling
sit back
up.
down.
I'm
Put
going to add
your headphones back on.
I was just thinking,
We're not finished
I'm
yet.
going to add a seatbelt to my chair here for these moments.
Yeah, we were at the we're at the end of a workshop, and the hand goes up. Excuse me.
What did you just say?
What's kinetic belief?
What is kinetic belief? What are you even talking about?
Thumbnail. How's that? On the surface of the human endeavoring, there is the poise of expectations.
Yeah.
Posture.
Yeah.
It is a condition and it's an action. But that's only the hat that the magician pulls the rabbit from. That's what you can see. And belief sustained in the mind of the believer is evidenced by the conscious power in action. Kinetic belief is the active power of attraction. It's the unwavering consciousness that we feel when we know that we can do something. It's what we feel when we know that we can succeed. And you know how to succeed. And you know how to do the thing. If you can imagine that you can succeed and imagine how to succeed and sustain the imagination with desire, gratitude, words, and action, you are successfully implementing the formula that we've been talking about, and you will have created the space for the universe to now manifest exactly what you've commanded. Not only have you enacted the motion of attraction to rearrange circumstances, but now get this, you cannot fail. It is impossible to fail because the success and or the failure part has nothing to do with you. It's not correct to even say you can be successful or you can fail. The universe outside of you is responsible for the success. You're responsible for the kinetic belief. So you cannot lose because failure and success is now out of your hands. Or you can take control of the end result and absolutely you will fail or you will succeed in the sense that that kind of success only comes with sorrow. But success that is implemented by the universe that's beyond you and responsible only to your empowerment through kinetic belief is always successful. The universe is programmed to fulfill our highest expectations without regard to anything, without regard to anyone else. And it doesn't matter who you are or where we come from. The universe is not a respecter of persons. It always responds to the kinetic energy of belief to fill the void with the physical like kind.
You know, I know that we're all approaching life so differently, but for me personally, what gets me so excited about everything that you just said is that I have anxiety when I feel like I'm helpless. when I feel like I can't do something, when I can't fix something in my own life. And the formula and everything that you just laid out, it says, hey, unequivocally, you absolutely can create any life that you want. And it just makes it makes me feel good. It makes me feel great about the possibilities, what's coming, what I have access to. If there's something today that maybe is weighing on me, I know exactly how to handle it now. And it's incredibly hopeful, but it's also very, very empowering.
It's stressful when it comes to fixing things if you think that your part of fixing it is beyond you. In other words, if your car needs to be fixed, you'll feel stressful if you get out the tools from the broom closet here and you go down to the car, open the hood, and climb up under it and start taking things apart. That's stressful. It's out. It's out of your
It's foreign.
purview.
It's beyond you.
You're not supposed. You take the car to the mechanic. You take what needs to be fixed to the universe, the mechanic of your life, and through kinetic belief and the empowerment of your authority and dominion to choose this thing over that thing, to put the positive label on it. The universe, your mechanic, shows up with the right set of tools and ensures your success because the universe understands exactly how that engine works.
I saw a great commercial. This guy's he's standing over the hood looking at inside his car, and a guy walks up and he's like, can I help you? And he was like, I don't know, man, it's a spaceship in here. but that's exactly what it feels like.
Yes.
You're looking at something that is so far beyond because it's supposed to be. It's supposed to be. It works that way. That's exactly what you've shown us today.
Well, you're not doing your part. You're trying to do the part of the universe to bring home the bacon, and this is team. There's teamwork here.
Yes.
There's a partnership here. There's a covenant that you're a part of, and every single thought to fix whatever it is that's held within the kinetic energy of belief will be a successful thought. It will result in success. And every action committed within the kinetic energy of belief will be a successful action. And if every thought and every action is successful, then the sum total of all of our actions cannot fail. And if, like you were saying earlier, Meg, if we count it all joy, all will be joyful. If we hold the belief that all things are working together for our good, the universe, the mechanic of our life, enfolds to manifest all things now working together for our good.
You can't help but laugh at the idea of, hey, you can actually be a successful loser. I mean, you can just getting a hold of this truth that you will be successful because of the way the universe works, as we now know. And we now know the mechanics of it and exactly all the different moving parts. And we understand our parts and making sure that and again, it's showing kinetic belief is something that you're wielding. And so wielding it in the right direction for your good, assuming the progress, assuming the miracle is going to be the making sure we're successful at the right things. It's just cracking me up, the concept.
Making sure we're successful is making sure that we have contracted with the universe, our proper mechanic, to do the correct thing in our life. Remember, we got our labels. You're using the positive labels in the correct way. Yeah. If you want to use the creative power that you've been endued with, you have to love yourself. You have to love others to get the universe to do the right thing, because it's ready, it's prepared to do it without judging you. Believe to see the love within you and to not be moved by what you see in others in any way. And when you determine to stand forever to receive the good expectation, I'm telling you, you'll never have to stand for long.
This is also making me think about relationships, because all of a sudden now, what we love it's easy to throw around the word toxic when it comes to relationships. And that's a big word. That could mean many things, but all of a sudden now, for me, it's being revealed as someone who is constantly trying to label things in your life as bad, as negative, as
or
not enough.
Or someone else's life.
Or someone else's life. So it's just, it's very revealing, and let's not make more work for ourselves by having to get rid of all those negative labels. Make sure that all of our relationships are assisting us in labeling things as good and positive in our life.
And isn't the relationship part of it a little tricky? I mean, on this planet, You
It's a little
you told me you were in the spa the other day, and you were in the meditation lounge, and you were minding your own marvelous, wonderful, beautiful business. And so you were there, and
quiet. The music's
and
playing.
you said, I'm throwing it to you. Some women came in and they were having a conversation
Yes.
about people that weren't there, and it was all toxic.
It was all
negative.
negative. Yes. And not only that, it was super loud, which was weird. But that was just part of it.
Well, that's a different thing.
But you're just laying there. I'm just laying there, thinking all the positive thoughts, working on that. And yeah, it's this huge disruption of negative labels. And I think it's interesting how much you use the word labels today, because that does give you a deeper understanding of what's actually happening when someone is speaking negatively. They're actually sticking the word bad onto everything around them, and eventually if you let them get close enough.
If you are considering it, then you are allowing those negative labels to be stuck on you, and they will have an effect.
Yeah.
Because you have to be a KB who casts down imaginations and protects their environment, and also who you give access to.
Yeah.
Because, look, a KB who journals from their highest expectations is somebody that's working on the internal dialogue that we are allowing to be ingested by our higher consciousness. And if you don't have a journal, look, go to our website and get the 100-day Law of Attraction Guided Journal. And if you're not able to do that, use a legal pad, write on the wall, do whatever you have to do, but start journaling. Start journaling your articles of faith, the way that you see your life unfolding. Meditate on it, imagine it, desire it, be grateful that you already have it, because it's yours. Learn the language of your desires. Put the words with your expectations, and then act as though you have it. And if you use your journal as the foundation of your kinetic belief, I'm telling you, it'll reveal the development of your manifestations as you move with your moment from day to day.
I have to say, this formula that you've walked us through today, it's going to become even more potent, I think, when we realize that we can apply it to areas of our life where we've had very bad examples. So, for example, we've talked many times about how if the only example you were shown as a child is poverty, it takes a lot of imagination to mentally live beyond lack and beyond the negative thoughts of not having enough. And so I find it very hopeful and exciting that if you have any area like that, maybe you didn't have a good parental example growing up, and so now all of a sudden you need to be a good parent, and you've never seen that before. Right. But this is a formula that you can overlay into any of these areas, and it's going to fill in that gap where maybe some examples are missing.
Well, that's why you can take your journal that you're writing in and use it as a type of vision board, but rather than board, something that you can elongate with a narrative, because the narrative has got to come with the vision board. Yeah. And that's why the journaling is so vital. Yeah. It is a fact, Maggie, in quantum physics, in spirituality, in nature, that the unseen is always capable of being seen. In other words, that's where all manifestations come from. That the cause of success, it's within you, it's within me, and it's capable of being fully developed. And I'll tell you that if you don't have any reason that you can think of to develop in the power of your kinetic belief, just do it because it's out of this world fun. You're missing out on a lot of fun to be able to rearrange circumstances, to be able to attract money, to heal and to be healed. There's nothing else more satisfying to human endeavoring, because we are wired to see what we kinetically, unwaveringly believe.
I love it. You're just a walking party. You're like, at least just come to the celebration. At least just come.
Do some tricks.
Yes, sing the songs and drink the wine and have a good time, and at least.
Do it for that, if for no other reason. Look, people fail because the ego thinks objectively that it can do things, but at the first sign of any resistance, it thinks it cannot do things. However, the higher state of consciousness does not identify with success or failure. Wow. It doesn't think that it can. It doesn't think that it cannot. The higher state of consciousness doesn't see things as good or bad. It doesn't judge anything. That place that it's aligned with the substance of approval. It's approved of. Approval. There's no condemnation there. It's just approval. And it conforms all things with that which is approved of in love. But the egoic mind, as a character of consciousness and not as a tool of inspiration, is impressed with doubts of anyone's ability to succeed at all. All my ego needs to consider is that I can succeed. All that is possible to anyone is possible to me. You see, I am successful. Not because of any fruit of success, but because I'm successful. I do succeed, for I'm full of the essence of the power of success. I am love. I am happiness. So I can't lose something that I am. Marjorie, you are happiness. So rather than looking outward for evidence of it, or inwardly even for the feeling of it, is an incorrect path to what is. You are. And this is the simple truth of my own existence. If I'm unhappy, it's because my ego is identifying with things that make me unhappy in my garden out back. And I realized that I choose my truth as I began journaling my truth, to saturate my expectations with the knowledge that, you know what, I can do what I want to do. I can have what I want to have. I can experience exactly what I want to experience.
It's fascinating to introduce the concept of identity at this point in the conversation today, because it's bringing it home. It's bringing it full circle now to this depth. It's giving us a depth of understanding about what this formula really is. And it's really a formula for understanding self and understanding identity, and exactly how that's going to produce whatever fruit we're wanting to manifest.
What do you have to lose?
Exactly.
If you don't have it to begin with. So listen,
Yes.
KBs, don't ever doubt it again. It is within your power to make a greater success in your life than anyone has ever made before you. If you were born into poverty, like Maggie says, you can have a greater life than anyone has ever had or ever made before you. Persist, stay with it, and don't cave in and quit. You will begin to know that you have within you, you've got, every single person has the lighthouse which attracts that which can do what you want to do. Now, you may not fully understand why this is so important right now, but what we talk about here on this podcast and write about is that it is absolutely vital that you do your life. There are keys to unlock your imagination for the essentials of your highest being. And regardless of what you may have believed, I'm telling you that there is more. There is a higher love. There is light that permeates all of space, that permeates all of time to uphold the highest version of each one of us. And the test is, are you willing to believe your highest self? Go ahead and pass the test. Stop doubting, stop worrying and questioning, and be bold to do and to refuse to count the cost. Your presence, I'm telling you, it's going to demand an explanation when you show up, expecting nothing less than your absolute best. And our imagination, all of us, it's a gift from God that holds the secret to manifesting the genius of our greatest selves. So we go there to see it, to believe it. And I like what Lewis Carroll, who wrote Alice's Adventures in Wonderland, said, sometimes I've believed as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast.
That's you, Steve.
Let other people begin to know the world's greatest that's been hidden within you, the impossible that is within you, that's there for you to reveal for others to see. You see, we are, all of us, we are a gift to one another. Give the greatest version of yourself, and the Bible says that you shall receive. Let's work on some highest viewpoints.
Yes, let's do it.
Just say this aloud. I'm receiving new imaginations for my best life.
I'm receiving new imaginations for my best life.
My Creator.
My Creator.
Imagined me.
Imagined me.
To prosper.
To prosper.
So I deserve everything I desire.
I deserve everything I desire.
I love who I was created to be.
I love who I was created to be.
Unconditionally.
Unconditionally.
And today.
And today.
Right now.
Right now.
I'm advancing.
I am advancing.
To become a better.
To become a better.
Healthier.
Healthier.
Stronger.
Stronger.
Happier.
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 Wiser.
Wiser.
Me.
Wiser. Me.
I deserve to attract unconditional love.
I deserve to attract attract unconditional love.
Just because of who I am.
Just because of who I am.
Because I am love.
I am love.
I deserve to attract the substance of happiness.
I deserve to attract the substance of happiness.
Because I only imagine.
Because I only imagine.
To be happy.
To be happy.
I deserve to attract success.
I deserve to attract success.
Because I only imagine.
Because I only imagine.
To be abundantly successful.
To be abundantly successful.
Maggie, life is beautiful.
Steve, life is beautiful.
And I look for the beauty that I imagine to see.
I look for the beauty that I imagine to see.
It's surrounding me everywhere I go.
It's surrounding me everywhere I go.
And today.
Right now.
In this moment. It is great to be alive.
It is great to be alive. What a fun and fast-paced and fantastic podcast this has been today, Steve.
Yes.
And make sure you go to stephencanyon.com. You can check out the journal there, and then also you can stay up to date with our upcoming events.
We love getting all the emails from you guys, and we hope to see some of you at the concert.
Oh, yeah.
Want to catch up with some of the KBs and just do a big group hug, if that's allowed, group elbow hug, whatever we can do.
Absolutely.
And sending out much light and authentic love to all the KBs all around the world.
And thanks, as usual, Steve, for all the wisdom.
Bye.